Hello and welcome to my channel Networking with H. In this session, I will discuss about router components and their functions. Routers have internal as well as external components which are critical for its operation. Some of the major internal components of router includes CPU, memory components, power supply, and config register. External components includes management ports, LAN-WAN interfaces, USB ports, EHV slots, and flashcard slots. Let us have a brief overview of each major component, starting with CPU. One of the major internal components of the router. What does CPU do? It executes operating system instructions. It also does the computing. For example, it executes algorithms such as Dijkstra's shortest path first algorithm for OSPF routing protocol. A lot of things are done by the CPU. Next component we are discussing about is RAM, also known as random access memory. RAM is a volatile memory and loses its content when the router is powered down or restarted. RAM stores the instructions and data needed to be executed by the CPU. Here on Cisco 1941 router, you can see a DDR2 RAM on board and also has a slot to expand the RAM. RAM is used to store the following components. Operating system. iOS is copied to RAM during the boot up. It also stores running config file, IP routing table file, ARP cache, and packet buffer. The next component we are going to discuss is NVRAM, which stands for non-volatile RAM. By non-volatile, we mean that the contents of NVRAM are not lost when the router is powered down or restarted. You can locate the NVRAM of Cisco 1941 router on top left part as shown in the picture. If I zoom it, you can see a small chip over there. NVRAM is also used to store the router's startup config or backup config file. It is used by the Cisco IOS as permanent storage for the startup config. When the router boots, by default, the router looks for the configuration information in NVRAM, unless the router is configured to load the configuration from some other source. If NVRAM is empty, then the router reloads. When the router reloads, you will be prompted to enter the setup mode. The next component is ROM, which stands for read-only memory. ROM is a form of permanent storage. It is non-volatile. It does not lose its content when the router loses power or is restarted. On Cisco 1941 router, it is located near the flash memory as shown in the picture, a small chip. ROM is used to ROM is used to start and maintain the router. Cisco routers use ROM to store bootstrap startup program, power on diagnostic test program, or mini iOS or limited iOS. ROM contains a bootstrap program called ROM monitor or ROM-on. When a router is powered on, the bootstrap runs a hardware diagnostic called POST, which performs a power on self-test on all the components. If POST completes successfully, the bootstrap then attempts to locate and loads the Cisco IOS stored in flash memory. Flash memory can be erased or overwritten. If the bootstrap cannot find the iOS in flash, a stripped down version of the iOS that will be loaded from ROM instead, which provides a limited backup version of the OS in case the router cannot load the full featured iOS. The contents of ROM cannot be altered or erased. The entire ROM chip must be replaced if an upgrade or repair is necessary. The next memory component is the flash memory. Flash memory is a non-volatile memory. It is used as the permanent storage for the iOS and other system-related files. This is a type of a EEPROM, which can be electrically stored and erased, thus making the Cisco iOS upgradable. In most models of Cisco routers, the iOS is permanently stored in flash memory and then copied into RAM during the boot up process, where it is executed by the CPU. The next component is a power supply. A power supply is a component that supplies power to the router and its component. The power supplies can be AC or DC. Cisco 1941 router power supply can be seen as shown in the picture. Some routers do have multiple power supplies for redundancy. The next component is the config register. The config register is what decides from where the router is going to boot the iOS image from. By default, the value is set to 0x2102, which tells the router to load the iOS from the flash memory and to load the configuration from NVRAM. This value can be found at the last line of the show version command as shown. Next, we'll discuss about the external components. On the back side of the router, you can see different types of interfaces and ports. Different router models have different router interfaces according to the type and need. Following are the interfaces and ports. Starting with management ports. These includes the console and the auxiliary ports used to configure and manage and troubleshoot the router. Console ports are used to access the administration of initial configuration and the command line interface. There are two types of ports available. The most frequently used port, common RJ45 port, and a new type B USB connector, USB mini B. However, the console can only be accessed for one port at a time. Next port is the auxiliary port, an RJ45 port for remote administration access similar to the console port. It is now considered an old port as it was used to support dial-up modems. Next we have LAN interfaces, which includes two integrated 10/100/1000 Ethernet ports. Interfaces with GE0/0 and GE0/1 label can be seen. Generally, they are used to provide LAN access by connecting with switches or interconnect to another router. Then we have USB interfaces. Two USB host ports are included for additional storage space. Ports with USB 0 and USB 1 label to provide additional storage space similar to flash memory. Then we have EHWIX slots. These slots that provide modularity and flexibility by enabling the router to support different types of interface modules, such as serial module, digital subscriber line, switch port, and wireless modules. The Cisco 1941 ISR also has storage slots to support expanded capabilities. Dual compact flash memory slots are capable of supporting a 4 GB compact flash card each for increased storage space. By default, only slot 0 is populated with compact flash card from the memory. That's it for today. In my next video, I'll be discussing about router modes and we'll do some basic configuration on the router. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and share your comments below. Thank you. Have a nice day.